Just push the button.
We're live, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. This is the Painesville Township Board of Zoning Appeals, and like we always do before we get started, I'm gonna ask everyone to stand as we do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, if you would call the roll for us, please, Rachel.
Okay, Dave Anzera,
Here.
Randy,
Here.
Ken,
Here.
Dave Lindros,
Here.
and Chairman.
Here. Thank you. The record show that the full attendance is here. At this time, I'm gonna, first of all, welcome back our attorney from a long time ago, Mr. Matt Lallo. Nice to see you, Matt.
Same here.
And I'm gonna have him explain why he has to swear the witnesses and have him go ahead and do that. So,
Okay, thank you. So this is a quasi judicial proceeding, meaning there is an administrative nature to it, and there's a request here. And if you disagree with the determination of this board, there is a right to appeal this to the Lake County Court of Common Pleas. And what, in preparation for that appeal, what we would do is we would actually take this recording and transcribe it. And in order to do that, we want to have honest testimony. And so what we would do is we would have every witness, every person who plans on speaking either for or against this application would swear and affirm that the statements they're giving is the truth, so that we can rely upon that transcript at a higher proceeding should the need arise. So that being the case, anybody who plans on speaking, whether it's for or against, I'm going to ask you to stand up, and then we'll do a swearing in. So, yep, anybody speaking? Okay, and for the record, there's a gentleman and a female. So if you can, raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, thank you.
all right, thank you. Now, I just want everybody to know, I've been doing these meetings for a long time. There's four of you decided not to get sworn. If you want to say something, you're not going to be able to do it, okay? And I've seen this in the heat of the battle sometimes, where, hey, I want to say something. Well, we end up swearing in. Okay, so this is a continuance of case 2024-007 BZA. If our secretary would please read the continued from May 14th, the application.
Applicant Skillman Thomas A. submitted a variance application for property located at 181 Stratford Road. The request is to allow construction of a 36-foot by 48-foot workshop, bringing the total square footage of accessory structures on the property to 1,928 square foot, in violation of section 14.02C4, which requires that the total square footage of all accessory structures shall not exceed 900 square feet, which is 50% of the total square footage of living space of the main building.
Okay, again, I see no error in our zoning inspector requiring a variance for this. In order not to rehash a lot of things, I think everybody on the board has the minutes. We know what the applicant wanted to do. We asked him to go back and kind of reconsider the size of the building. The neighbors had also asked, they had some concerns on stormwater and drainage concerns. I think Mr. Skillman will have the chance to answer those questions and what he's done for that. So at this time, let's just, Mr. Skillman, if you want to approach and let us know what you've come back with.
So, what I've come back with is the difference in size of the building. Looking at 30 by 50, which is 1,500 square foot. Right. As far as the drainage issue, I did have a contractor come in, and we looked at drainage, we looked at the slope of the land and everything, and we will do a drainage that will extend to the back of the property, and he seemed quite confident that would work and keep any drainage from being an issue.
So Steve Hauser, Lake County,
Yes.
he recommended that you have a site plan and survey done. You say you've had that done?
I did not get a site plan did reach out to one of the contractor companies that he mentioned about bidding.
Mhm.
Actually, I reached out to two different companies, one to do a survey and one to come out and talk to about either survey and site plan. And neither company got back with me, and then my family went on vacation and just got back Friday. So I did not get with, I got a hold of Barrington Associates, did not hear back from them. And then I got a hold of a survey, and he was supposed to come out and do a survey, and they had a survey done that marked the property line. And I'm well off the property line. I mean, I'm 20 feet off the property line. I've even pushed over even a little further at this point to be up further off the property line.
Okay, I guess my question is, we asked you to see somebody from Stormwater, and that's
Right,
Mr.
I did talk.
Hauser. So if this would be granted, we would expect that you have, somebody come out and do the layout to make sure the grades are correct and everything else, so the water flows the right way.
I still,
Okay. All right, go ahead. Where else?
So yeah, I did talk to Steve, and he did make the recommendation. I didn't seem to think that it was a requirement on the way he put it out. He said it wasn't a requirement, but he was recommending it to help kind of, I guess, smooth things out, make things more explained. The survey that came in, the property line was right on the mark with where I was estimating the property line at, where I was basing my measurements off of. And like I said, I think before I was about 15 to 17 feet from the property line, I pushed over to 20 feet, narrowed the building by six feet, and dropped over 200 square foot off the building,
Mhm.
is what I'm proposing. And I've got pictures and I've got renderings.
Yeah, we've got the file.
So you should have pretty much everything that I did. It shows the building white with blue trim. Or like I said, I did talk to a contractor that does excavating and concrete work.
Do we have anything we can put up on the TV screen of what he submitted as far as colors and everything? Because ours all came out black and white.
Oh, I don't have the colored copy,
Oh,
because I
okay.
scanned the copy that I made, but.
Just so the neighbors can see what's being proposed.
If you don't mind passing that around.
White with the blue trim, blue trim matches the house.
And for some reason our copier browned out the trim doors.
Okay, so
There's other pictures with that give different angles.
yeah, okay. Is that a asphalt tile roof?
No, it's
Asphalt,
a metal roof.
a metal roof,
It
okay.
is a metal roof.
I don't know if you guys wanna see that in colors, just blue and white. Okay, anything else?
That I can think of. I know we've been in conversations with the neighbor before, we did talk, and she doesn't seem to be very interested in any kind of a compromise when asked directly what her compromise was to this. She didn't seem to have any interest in having a compromise.
Okay, let me ask you one other question. You still have a 200 square foot building on there. You do intend to keep that one as well?
I mean, I would prefer to, only because that's got all the yard stuff, and it is a very solidly built building that's been there for, I don't even know how many years at this point. And if I have to make adjustments, I can make adjustments, but I would prefer to keep it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's got a concrete floor on it, a very solid built shed that was built long before I moved into the house.
Yeah.
But if I gotta make adjustments, I'll make adjustments.
And then another question, with this building that you're proposing here, I drive up and down Stratford all the time. There's a truck parked outside with a historic plate on it. And you explained that, and you have a trailer there. Is there any chance some of those things could be moved back into this building?
That's the intention. So the old truck is my son's, and that truck will go into the garage,
Okay.
into the shop. You know, there's 4 classic cars between my son and I that we have. And the idea of this shop is to house those and have a place to work on those at.
So the trailer and the brown,
The trailer won't live in the garage. There won't be enough, there's not enough space to put that in the garage and still necessarily have.
would you consider putting like a shed roof on the north side of that building and parking it under there?
On the north side, probably not, only because that would be the side towards Route 20. That, trying to wrangle the trailer up and around with the offset that I have from the property, now I have to go on the other side.
Well, the other side's not closer to your neighbor, correct?
Right.
I don't wanna recommend that.
Well, correct, but trying to put it on the other side would be a difficult feat, just because of the spacing from the house to the building, and trying to wrap that trailer around the building to the other side. That would be a difficult, it's a 28-foot enclosed trailer.
Okay. Anything else?
I did do a scale of the building with a kind of a floor plan,
Mm-hmm.
and with vehicles, if it's something you wanna see,
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
just to kind of show like how the space gets utilized. And it just dawned on me that I did forget a couple things, but, so, that's the trailer, okay? This is the front, here's my door, my main door, man door, workbenches, toolboxes, such, shelves across the back, okay? My lift is not quite the correct size, I found out after I did it. But there's one of my son's cars, there's my one car, my other car, the truck that's out front, and then my truck, my daily truck that I drive. And that doesn't include the 2 4-wheelers that we have also, that I actually forgot about when doing this, that need a place to sit under. Instead of
So
sitting
where are
on
you
the other.
proposing to put those?
Well, I'm planning on putting those in here.
Okay.
But if the building gets much smaller, I mean, this is 30 by 50, I did stretch to 52, just kind of, but 30 by 50, that building gets used up pretty quick,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I'm at the sizing that I'm requesting, because it's gonna, it's gonna get utilized. I'm trying to bring everything inside to be able to put it under roof, so that I don't have my historical vehicle sitting outside in the weather.
Mm-hmm.
And so that we're not doing oil changes and whatever in the driveway, or working on the mower in the driveway, because I don't have room to work on anything.
Okay. All right. Did everyone see that? Okay, thank you.
Good?
Anything else?
Not that I know at the moment.
Okay.
Are we able to keep that for the record, just to make it as a part of the file? Okay.
Sure, I can. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Just
Helps.
so that we have that for the record.
Okay.
I'll make a new one for my own self.
We could
All right.
potentially make a copy if you need us to.
So I know that no one else is here to speak for, because no one else got sworn in the back row. Someone to speak against his proposal. Yes, ma'am, if you will identify yourself?
I'm by myself, yeah.
No, identify yourself.
I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. You want me to go up now?
Sure.
Okay. Sorry, I'm a little hard of hearing. I'm Roseanne Colleran, and my father, Donald Deneza, and I are co-trustees of the house at 201 Stratford Road, next door to the Skillmans. And we are opposed to the variance, based on the size. We have 3 main reasons. Oh, I did want, Harley, if you don't mind, I think I kind of got a little stumbled up in the numbers last time, and I wanted her to show us what the starting point is, like what the code says he's allowed, what he already has, and what he has to, the starting point.
His current accessory building is approximately 200 square feet, which leaves him with 600 square feet, or a little over with the.
I thought the application says 900 square
Yeah.
feet.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I
Seven,
apologize.
so
I
there's
apologize.
700 left. Is that correct?
It's less than that. So his is, I think, hold on, I have to pull it up.
Well,
I
it comes down to
apologize, I
what he's
wasn't
asking
prepared.
for is an 88% variance, doing the math. He's asking for 1,700 square foot, and he's allowed 900, so it's an 88% variance.
I'm
just
just
to
gonna
be
measure this
clear.
again.
Now, normally, that is a ridiculous variance for this board to even think about. But we talked about the last meeting, the normal lot size in Painesville Township is, what did you say, about a third of an acre? Third to a fourth of an acre?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
And this is 1.7 acres, 1.79 or 1.69, I forget. But it's considerably more, so, I know we have a rough time with 88%, but given the lot size, we've done things like that in the past. Just so the board will probably have some questions. My main thing, go ahead, I'm sorry, I didn't wanna cut you off.
So I have looked at these numbers and I don't, unless somebody disputes me, he's allowed 900 square feet of total outbuilding space. He has a 288 square foot shed that shows up on the auditor's page. He has two little sheds he says he'll take down, so we won't even talk about those. So if he has 900 minus 288, his starting point is 612 square feet. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's his starting point.
Yes, sorry, I apologize, yes.
So now at 1,500 square feet, he's almost 900 over. So our objection is, to us, 1,500 square feet is a commercial building. It's not a residential garage. The second thing is the drainage, and the third is safety. So I did look at your 2017 comprehensive plan, talking about zoning and the planning for Painesville Township, and what I see over and over in there is the happiness of having residential community. And that's, the plan is to keep quality residential communities going and properties. So to put a commercial building on a residential lot, especially in a neighborhood like that, that is all residential. And I know a lot of people have outbuildings, but it's not like auto repair garages and not of that size. It's a concern because, it could possibly be used as a business at some point. Future owner, I know the Skillmans are family people, they'll use it for family purposes, but a future owner could use it as a business to rent it out for storage. It could just be, I don't know, sky's the limit on space. Drainage is one of our biggest concerns because those are wet lots like we talked about last month. And I was really happy when I talked to Steve Hauser yesterday and he told me he made the recommendation for a professional site plan and to have a professional drainage plan. And I actually, if you see the survey stakes out in the backyard, that was the survey I paid for. I paid for a boundary survey and it was Crab Survey, and they performed the survey within a couple of days of me calling. But I don't have the final report yet, but the stakes are out. And so anyway, I do think Tom should get his own survey and should have a professional plan. And the drainage, this is where I find, even though I know you have some precedent for approving larger buildings based on larger lot sizes, he will be loading up a small section of his lot with impervious structures. It's gonna be the house, the new garage, there's a above ground pool with, should be covered most of the year. And a big tree is coming out to make way for the garage and the trailers and things that are not permanent, but they are there, that big one especially, most of the year. So that, I can see why the code, the code does not allow for changing this, adjusting the size of the building to the lot. The code specifically proportions the size of outbuildings to the size of the house, not the lot. But all those variables, that's why I think the drainage plan done by a professional engineer or a professional contractor, and done before the digging starts, I think that is just very necessary. My third concern is the safety, because I know this is going to be an auto repair garage. And it's 1,500 square feet. There are professional auto repair garages that are this size and maybe even smaller. So, professional garage is regulated by the state. Safety is paramount. They come and they check on it regularly. But in this case, he's gonna have like a long tube, and he's gonna be parked up with cars and a lot of equipment and combustibles and flammables, and there's no regulation for that. There's no oversight. Nobody will be checking on the safety of that. I worry about them. I worry about something happening in our property, maybe one of us being outside, one of my grandkids, whatever. I worry about the local firemen and EMTs who might have to go and take care of a medical emergency there or a fire, and how are they gonna get through this garage and go back there and deal with something? So, the last thing I wanna say is, I really hate being up here and being a naysayer and the dream killer. Tom and I have had a friendly relationship over the 15 years he's lived there, and he's been a good neighbor to my parents, and I have complimented him and thanked him for that several times. I just really hate having a disagreement like this with a neighbor, but we feel so strongly about this. We feel strongly about maintaining the residential character of Stratford and about our properties. We feel really strongly about, we want to avoid drainage issues because we know how bad that can get. And I do want to keep it safe. I want a safe yard, I want a safe house, I want safe neighbors, I want safe community. And so that's why I'm here.
Thank you very much.
Any questions?
Counter?
Sure, you've been sworn.
So some of the issues that she brought up, we sat and had a 45-minute phone or conversation before I went to Florida on vacation with my family. As far as addressing the safety issue on things, it's not a commercial garage. It's not going to be a commercial garage. I don't do commercial work. My son doesn't do commercial work. We work on our family's vehicles as necessary. I've got 8 kids, 8 grandkids, okay? My brother was over, my son was doing oil changes on my brother's cars today. We may do things like that. To say that, this is gonna be a commercial building and everything, there's other garages in the same neighborhood between Barrington, Fairfield, and Stratford that have working lifts in them, that work on cars, do restorations on cars. They're in the same neighborhood, okay? There's another garage just down the street that's over 1,500 square feet. The house next to me, their house, has a footprint of 728 square feet, but it has a floor space of over 1,400 square feet with a second floor that they're storing historic vehicles in also. Okay, so, to come at me because this is gonna be an auto repair shop, a commercial building, is, I think, absolutely ridiculous. I've made it very clear up here, last meeting and again this meeting, and to her in our conversation, it's not a commercial building. I don't do commercial work. Okay, my days of working on cars commercially are long gone. I do it for myself. I've been working on cars for over 40 years. My son's getting into it. The last couple of years he's been getting into it after graduating Auburn Career Center. I've got fire extinguishers in my garage at all times for any given thing. We want to talk about chemicals and stuff. Well, there's chemicals in their garage also. There's fire extinguishers, there's safety issues in there. So, I keep a very safe garage. I keep rag bins, I keep things taken care of. I try to keep things as tidy and safe as possible. Because last thing I wanna do is have a fire or have something happen. Those are the kind of things that people don't recover from. Drainage issue had a professional contractor come in and we talked about drainage to facilitate that issue and to make that a non-issue. You know, after our conversation, she's right, we have had a good relationship up until this point. But at this point, I feel like she's trying to bully her way through all of this and just push over because of me trying to build this building. Like I said, you know, I showed you, I'm not trying to run a business out of this. I'm trying to do a garage for my family. I have no intention of moving. I'm not gonna build this and then up and move. To where worrying about somebody else coming in and living there, that's gonna outdo most of any of us at this point. Once I get my garage that I've wanted for decades, my wife ain't never getting me out of that house. And she knows it, cause I'm not going anywhere.
I just wanna put him in.
So, you know, I mean, the safety aspect is ridiculous. It's no more dangerous than anybody else's house, anybody else's garage, there's fuels, things like that, in any of our garages for our gas cans for our mowers and whatnot. And all of that is taken care of in professional, approved safety cans and all that such. It's not a commercial garage, doesn't need commercial regulations. Now, like I said, there's several other garages in the neighborhood that have lifts and such that do this kind of work. So I'm not doing something that isn't already being done in the neighborhood.
Mhm.
You know, like I said, there's a couple other buildings that are over 1,400 square foot floor space. Theirs is compacted into 2 floors. I'm laying mine out, and for obvious reasons is why I'm trying to lay it out, to be able to house everything in my building.
Okay,
So I think that's what I got for the moment.
Mr. Skillman, could you refresh my memory, and I apologize, on your layout, I believe you showed 4 vehicles in there, is that correct?
Yeah, there's.
Your truck and 3 other vehicles?
Well, so on this, what I did, I got the 4 classic vehicles that we have, okay, they're in different stages of work to be done. And then I put on there, I also have my personal daily truck that I drive.
Right.
Cause it would be nice to get it out of the weather in the wintertime. you
Sure.
know, To have
Understood.
that space to do it, but, you know, the big thing is to have the space for the vehicles, and I do have 2 ATVs that in the course of everything, I forgot to accommodate for this rendering. So those would go in there also. You know, make the room as I need to accommodate that.
I appreciate that. I would just add that, it's my experience anyway, that there are many houses in the township that have 3-car attached garage, and in some cases 4-car attached garage, right attached to the home. So if we're looking at 4 classics plus 1 other vehicle, we're not really that far off from some of the existing residential homes that have 3 and 4 car attached garages. And those are attached to the home, in my mind, making them even more dangerous than an outbuilding, just my 2 cents worth. So I certainly appreciate the argument of safety, I really do.
Well, and he and I have had a conversation, a little while, last year, about the benefits of having a detached garage versus an attached garage. You know, right now, I'm doing all the work that I do, I'm doing in my 2-car attached garage. And like I said before, I don't have the space, I just don't. But there is, you know, I mean, anytime you're doing this work, there is certain risks. But the benefit of the detached is that it separates from the house, and it's not attached. Should something, you know, unfortunately happen. But like I said, I do have multiple fire extinguishers in the garage. We are very closely related to 2 different fire departments. So I take every precaution to make sure that, you know, safety is observed as best as absolutely possible in doing the work that we do.
Mr. Skillman, a question. So the shed that's in the back,
Mhm.
is that 288 square feet or is it 200 square feet?
It's 16 by 18, so that, whatever that.
We have our mathematician, he'll do
Math
that.
may lay out to 288, that sounds
Yeah.
about right.
All right,
Yes.
Yeah, I did
288.
double check, that was
okay,
Like I said,
that
that's
was my
been a
mistake, I
long-standing
apologize.
shed that's been there for
okay.
beyond me being there.
And then it's a question for for our zoning inspector, Harley. Is the basis 900 square feet, or is it something different than that?
900 square feet.
900, okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Who's going to build it?
I've looked at several companies, I got a few estimates.
Is it a prefab or,
It would be a company that comes in and builds the building.
You handed us something from Carolina Concrete
Correct.
Custom Buildings.
I'm looking at Carolina, building, cause they do the concrete work and the building itself. And I'm also looking at another company called Patriot, that I've been, back and forth with them, but I did not have a printout from Patriot.
Is it a similar construction?
Yes, it's all virtually identical, it's just kind of comparing apples to apples between the two companies.
I have another question too. On the south side of this building, which would face their property, are you planning any landscaping there?
I don't have anything planned, but that's not out of the question, you know, and my wife usually handles most of the landscape type flowers and trees and whatever. And one of the things that we did recently do, there is one tree that regretfully I will be taking down to do this project. But it is the close proximity of the tree versus the building, the tree will have to go. But we have also planted like 14 trees throughout the property just this year.
Okay. I'm still a little confused on one point here.
Sure.
Mr. Hauser said, I would recommend having a site plan and survey done. So there's been a survey done by you, is that
Yes.
correct? I don't know, if a survey is a survey, I guess it's marking the correct property line.
so it was a boundary survey I paid for, not a full like legal survey. So he did mark more, he was just going to mark the corners and he ended up marking along the property line to show, because he knew that's where we were talking.
All right, he said, I would recommend having a site plan and survey done so the layout, grades, and proposed grading, drainage can be shown for the construction of the building. Now, you say you have not had that done.
I did not have that done. Like I said, the survey guy that I reached out to and thought had a good understanding with about, hey, let's get this going and get it done.
Well, one of our reasons for asking you to contact the county stormwater was to make sure that everything was gonna be all right, and this is his recommendation. So if this would be granted, I would insist that this be done prior to building. Okay, I don't know if that makes sense. Matt?
Yes, sir.
We can use that as a stipulation in the case, not only though that the survey's done and the recommendations, but then obviously in our stipulations, the building has to be built with adhering to those recommendations as well. So not only does he have to have the survey and recommendations, the building has to be built
Whoever the
to
builder is
recommendations.
has to adhere
Right.
to those,
Right.
to that survey. Any other questions?
I'm still looking at the extent of the variance, because I want to make sure we're accurate based on what the percent variance would be. So right now, I understand the basis is 900. There's a 288 square foot shed already in the property, and the proposal is to add a 1,500 square foot building. So if I take the 1,500 and add it to 288, that comes out to 1,788. And taking 1,788 as opposed to 900, that's a greater than
It's 90-some.
90-some percent. So you had mentioned that one of the things you would consider is if we do have the option of, if we were to grant this, of making a requirement that you remove the 288 square foot shed, because that just adds to the variance. Are you saying that you would consider that?
You haven't been sworn, sir. Do you want to get sworn?
I just want.
You have to be sworn.
Okay, yes.
Stand up. Raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
So, when I'm on.
Sir, one sec. You have to state your name and
I'm
address.
sorry, Chris Capstick, 210 Stratford. The 900 square foot building is only for a quarter acre of land. He has over an acre.
No, that's not the way it's written. It's for an R1 residential property in Painesville Township.
Okay.
What we were saying is most lots are that size. I think the neighbor said, you know, it doesn't have to do with, it really doesn't have to do with the size of the property. That's something that this board looks at as far as granting something. You know, 25%, on a quarter acre lot, we would maybe grant 25 or 30, maybe 25% variance. Let something be 25% over. We don't have to do it for a bigger lot. We look at that and say, we can, justifiably so. So if this ever went to the Court of Appeals and they would say, you took into consideration the size of the lot. If we ever granted a 95% variance on a quarter acre lot, they would think, what were you guys
Right,
thinking?
I get that.
Okay?
Okay.
So it's something we can look at. The other thing that, and it's tough for me too, this is a use variance, and there's standards that this board needs to look at and standards that we're judged by. And it's Duncan versus Middlefield, is that right, Pat?
That is correct.
And a couple of the points is for a variance to be granted, there has to be a hardship. Is the hardship there, or is it been put in place by the applicant? Does it change the area or the natural I forget the
Do you want me
words.
to read some of them to you?
Pardon?
Do you want me to read the factors to you?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and read them?
Okay, so these are factors. They're not elements. And the reason why I say that, factors are things to be considered. So if one is met, that doesn't necessarily mean you must do this or you must do that. It's something that you consider.
Yes.
Okay? So with the Duncan factors, whether uses permitted in the district may be reasonably established on the property and whether they are economically viable on the property in question without the variance. Whether the variance is the minimum variance which will afford relief to the property owner, whether the essential character of the neighborhood will be substantially altered or adjoining properties will suffer interference with their proper future development and rights as a result of the variance, whether the property in question has unique or exceptional circumstances or conditions that do not generally apply to other properties in the vicinity and within the same district, whether the hardship condition was created by the actions of the applicant, whether the spirit and intent of the zoning resolution will be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance, whether the use requested is similar in character to the permitted uses in the subject district, and whether the subject property is adequate to meet the needs and requirements of the proposed use.
Okay, thank you. So those are things that this board has to kind of consider. That brings up the question, the larger lot size, that, will it change the way we look at it? Probably, yeah, it would change the way I would look at it. A variance is granted when someone has a hardship. Is this hardship created by the applicant? I would say probably so. But again, in the general area, there are other people that have facilities that are doing what they want, doing similar to what he wants to do. So this is not an easy one for this board to look at.
And I understand that, but like 60 years ago when Don built that building, why did he build the building? Maybe to work on his tractors, maybe to store his garden supplies, maybe to store a future antique car later down the road. But 60 years ago, nobody pinned him against a wall and said, you can only build a 700 square foot with 2 stories.
Who are you talking about now?
Her dad,
Oh, okay.
that owns the house next door.
Mhm.
He has a 700 foot footprint of a barn, but it's 1,400 feet because it's 2 stories.
I understand, okay.
It actually isn't 1,400, it goes like this and it's smaller.
Okay, I get the gist of what you're saying.
And it would even meet zoning code today.
Okay.
Footprint wise.
So with that, anything else? Any other questions from the board?
Mr.
I guess
Chairman?
my only question is 1,500, is that your bottom line number you can go to? I still look at it, I think it's a huge variance. I don't recall us going over 50% variances. I could be wrong, but I just don't.
Yeah, I have to look way back to see. You did come back with, I would say, a token thing. Well, we were 1,900 something before with the, assuming that that was 200. So it's not that much less right now. And again, it's, we can play with numbers. I think it's the essence of the property, what we're looking at. You always say that the family is not gonna go anywhere, but that building's gonna probably end up on that property ad infinitum, you know, for as long as that property's there. Like I say, this isn't an easy one. You know, I think we just have to throw some concerns out here and see what the board decides. That's all we can do at this point. Everyone has a different background here and everyone has concerns. There are standards we have to stick to somewhat. I would say that when we make the motion, the motions are always made in the positive here. So whoever is sitting in the audience, they are always made in the positive. We can put conditions on the variance, correct?
That is correct. I did want, Mr. Chairman, I did want to just clarify. The initial application requested a 36-foot by 48-foot workshop or accessory structure. Your presentation today, I believe, amended that to a 30 by 50. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Okay. And then I think, so that would be a formal modification from the applicant. So I believe the variance would have to include the 30 by 50. But then also, there was a discussion about whether you wanted to add a condition as it relates to whether the other accessory structure would be removed or keep that, or just keep it to a total amount above the 900 square foot. That would be, you know, a variance. So I just want to make sure when crafting the motion, you're addressing all of those
Right.
different factors.
So we could technically suggest that there's a condition that the building is not to exceed X square footage or X feet by X feet.
Correct.
Even though his request is larger than that. Thank you.
Well, the variance would have to include the 30 by 50, but whether the board would only approve of that if the other structure were to be removed. I think that was brought up.
Right.
So that would have to be, I think you'd have to discuss that with the applicant as well, just to make sure that's clear, if he would be amenable to that.
A question? And then your motion would also include the survey he would get and
Yes.
the drainage plan?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll take care of all that.
Okay.
All right, I, as chairman, cannot make a motion. We can discuss it as we go through the motion here, though, make sure we cover everything. So if someone would like to make a motion,
Mr. Chairman?
yes.
Before you make your vote, I just had a question. Would you consider would it be preferable for you, making your proposed building smaller to keep the square footage from the shed? So trading it to make that building smaller so you can keep your shed?
I can work with that. The look of the building won't change, just what would change is the length of the building. The length of the building would get shorter.
Can you take 300 square foot, 288 square foot off it, or 300 square foot, whatever is something that works out for even numbers?
I believe to accommodate, it would be a 30-foot by 40.4 foot structure. That would render the square footage 1,212 square feet, which would then allow for that 288 square foot structure, and that would be a 1,500 square foot,
Okay.
So it would be a
Would you
very
say 30 by 40?
0.4.
Do you know if they make, what
I
the,
mean, 30 by 40 is, yeah, it's, you know, the companies can do that.
wait, is that something that you would prefer to do to keep your shed? Just so that way, if that is the way that you would prefer to go, the board can.
The problem I have with that is then, like what I showed with the rendering here, is fitment of the vehicles in the garage. The 4 classic vehicles in there. With, you know, it doesn't fit.
Again, we look at a hardship for a variance, and,
Right.
you know, you're saying you can't fit everything in there you want to, that's a hardship you are creating,
Correct, I understand that.
okay? Worst case scenario, would you have to store one off-site someplace? You know, it is a residential lot.
Or move.
I mean, if I have to get rid of the shed to get where I'm at, I'll figure it out. And I'll figure out how I can do it.
Tell me again what's in the shed.
All the lawn equipment and everything, the tractor, the, lawn vacuum, the yard rake.
Where would you put those things?
Until I sort through or whatever, I mean, it would end up in the garage, probably in a corner in the garage for
Okay.
a while.
I just wouldn't wanna see those scattered around the yard. you know?
Correct. Neither would I. I mean, I wouldn't want all the stuff out in the open either, which is, you know, what I'm trying to do is clean up and get everything under the roof.
Mhm.
And have room to be able to work on the things that I need to work on. You know, would a lean-to off of the north side, would that be?
I don't even know if does he even need a permit to do that?
For the lean-to, he does because there's a setback requirement, so because it's something we regulate, a permit is required.
The
But-
setback would be towards his yard though, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
But if
yeah,
it's- if
but
it's
just
part of
because
the-
it's something that we regulate, but we can include it as part of
I mean, 'cause
this
the
application.
companies do lean-tos as part of their building packages. I just have not chosen a lean-to. But, I mean, if that's the direction I have to go, to do what I'm attempting to do here,
Mhm.
I mean, I'm willing to make compromises. You know, I'm willing to try to work with and make a compromise.
And we want everybody to be happy. You know, we want you to have the garage you've always wanted. We want the neighbors to be happy. I don't think they're gonna be happy with anything, but we want,
No, they're not.
and we don't wanna, to throw a 90% plus variance in there, to me, it just goes against my
Well,
grain.
and I understand that, you know, coming into this, I know I asked big, I know I did. You know, and here again, I've always had the mantra that if you don't ask big, you don't get big. But you gotta be workable from that point
Yeah.
and be willing to compromise, and I am willing to compromise. You know, like I said, if in time, you know, I mean, obviously I can't get rid of the shed until I got this built.
Mhm.
I mean, that's not a reasonable thing, cause then, okay, now everything's out in the open.
Yeah.
Um,
That's why we have a zoning inspector.
well, and I'm not trying to have everything out in the
Yeah.
open, you know, but these things take time, I do have a job, and I do have, you know.
Well, what we're looking to do here is, there's two ways we can do this. I mean, you can go back and relook at this thing, and you can continue this again, or we can try and settle it today. If you say, I can go with a smaller building and keep the shed, or take, if this is the way you wanna look at it, I wanna keep this one and get rid of the other building.
I said, if I can put a lean-to on the side of this, into my yard, not towards theirs, I'll sacrifice the other shed.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm willing to make that compromise, and then I'll put everything.
And I think that's something he works out with zoning after this is over with.
Yes.
Okay. Does everyone know where we're going here on the board?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else, ma'am?
No, I'm just kinda curious to hear how it all is.
Yeah,
all
well,
worked
and if you,
out.
yeah, hopefully we can address it all. All right, so who's gonna be the one that wants to make the motion?
I'll make the motion to approve case number 2024-0007 with the conditions of having a groundwater assessment for water drainage that the contractor would have to adhere to. 2, to have a professional survey. And 3, to remove the shed after the building is built.
And I think number 4, we should add that the new building's not to exceed 1,500 square feet.
Yes.
Which is the 30 by 50.
Yeah, and to agree to the 30 by 50 building. Not to exceed.
Just something to consider. I also heard that you were gonna move the historical vehicle that you have in your driveway. You would be parking that inside the new building,
Oh, absolutely, I mean, that's the whole part of, you know,
okay? And then you said you have two
ATVs.
ATVs that you would also, so the board might wanna consider that the condition is that,
I agree.
And that's pretty much the intention
okay,
of all of this, is to be able to bring that all in under a roof.
And Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to clarify something. The first condition, I believe I heard it was having a groundwater study.
I think it's
Is that-
follow the recommendations of Mr. Hauser before any building is started.
Okay, and then
That's probably
maybe
the way we
have,
wanna word it.
maybe have Mr. Hauser sign off on it. That'd be the requirement, that he have that recommendation
Sure.
completed and approved.
Mhm.
Okay,
Let's make that the first condition, that, the recommendation of Mr. Hauser is fulfilled and he signs off on it.
Is it required that we reference the email and the date, or just the recommendation?
I don't think it would
Mr.
hurt.
Hauser?
Date Thursday, May 23rd, 2:48 PM, from Steve Hauser to the applicant. Yes,
So that I'm totally clear on how this size is working out. He has a choice of going up to 1,500 square feet if he loses the shed, if he tears down the shed, or he keeps the shed and,
Well, it's
At this point, no, the recommendation, the approval is based on removing the shed. There's only one approval in this process right
Yeah.
now.
we're not,
going up to a 1,500 square foot, then,
the 30 by 50,
30 by
but the
50,
shed
and
comes
removing
down.
the shed.
okay.
So, condition 1 and 2 per the application, I think, are covered with the way we did this, didn't we? As the first one, the survey, and
Yeah, it's.
we'll reread all that.
The two other sheds he has on his property that don't appear on the auditor's page, there's an old chicken coop in the back, and then there's a shed that's kind of halfway back in the property that the Starks built that when they built the house. Those, we talked before about them coming down, so you would suggest they come down, correct?
I don't know if I knew about those sheds.
They appeared on the
Were they
map
on-
the last time, the last meeting,
And I
and you,
had already said then.
Okay,
yeah,
That would be taken care of.
yeah, that was a part of the
just say,
applicant's
all right,
application.
let's make sure in the applicate, or in the motion, that the three existing sheds come down.
All existing sheds.
All three sheds, all existing sheds.
Correct. Shall come down upon completion of the
That's
construction.
condition 2, is that right? It was 3, but
Yeah.
we combined 1 and 2 together.
Right.
Okay, so this is 2. And then 4 is that it's 1,500 square foot maximum. And you wanna do the last one, that the existing historic vehicle and the ATVs will all end up inside the building, just to make sure we're covered. Okay? Rachel, do you get all that?
a quick question, I know, we went, but the trailers stay outside, correct?
It'll stay outside, yeah.
Yeah, unless I go to a 36 by 60 building. I mean, come on, let's be real.
No, the trailer,
I just was asking for clarification, that's all. There's a lot of detail here and a lot of things have changed since your application, so we're just asking for the details.
yeah, the trailer will stay outside. But it, yeah. Ready, Rachel?
Okay, so I think I'm still kind of confused on the recommendation of Mr. Hauser.
Here, you want me to bring that to her?
Yeah, so it would be the recommendation that Steve Hauser made per his email to Mr. Stillman dated May 23rd, 2024.
How am I?
Here. This, if you can understand that, so the recommendation fulfill. Don't look at that upside down writing. So fulfill the recommendation that Steve Hauser made per his email to Mr. Skillman. And do that to Mr. Skillman dated May 23rd, 2024. Do you guys want the time on that too? Does that matter? Matt, that's
I
another
think
question for
Mr. Chairman referenced the time.
Okay,
It's all in the same email, so you might as well
yeah,
have it
so
there.
dated that, time stamped, after this, time stamped, 2:48 PM.
I'm sorry, one more question. I know my father will ask, will we be able to see a report on the drainage?
It'll be a public record.
It will be, okay.
There's your answer.
And that will be like after everything is done, or that will?
That's before the building starts.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the applicant will have, if this is approved, the applicant will have to submit that to the zoning office before the permit is issued.
Okay, thank you.
Are you ready?
Sure.
Well, now that I got Harley's. Okay, so the first would be to fulfill the recommendation that Steve Hauser made per his email dated May 23rd, 2024 to Mr. Skillman, timestamp for 2:48 p.m. Let's see, the second one is to remove all existing sheds. And then the new building to not exceed 1,500 square feet.
Correct.
And that the historical vehicle and
Oh,
all
okay.
ATVs
That's
will be
number
stored in the
4.
building.
Historical vehicle and ATVs to be stored.
Yes, inside the building.
Stored. And all historical vehicles and ATVs to be stored inside the building.
What do we have? 1,500 by 900.
Quick clarification, remove all existing sheds?
Yes, the 3,
All
66.
inclusive to the, yeah.
Yes.
Just for the record, by doing what we're doing here, we've gone from originally 114% variance down to beginning of the discussion here, around 90%. We're down to about 66%. And I'm fairly comfortable with that, considering the lot size. Okay, so I think we've done due diligence here. All right, so motion has been made.
Put a time frame on removal of the outbuildings?
That's, you're saying after the building's built?
After the building is up.
Right,
Yeah,
but we need to give a time
But,
frame.
yeah, so it's not like 3 years after the building's done, right?
What's reasonable for you once the building's done to get the sheds down?
Yeah, two of them are easy to do, the big one obviously is gonna take time. Would a year be too much to be able to remove?
Let's say the 2 small ones immediately, within 6 months, and then the last one a year?
Yeah.
You comfortable with that? Okay. That's condition number 5.
2 small ones and how long?
6 months.
Within 6 months. I guess you could just include that as condition two.
What was the big one?
Within a year.
Within a year.
Can you make the big one in 6 months before it starts snowing?
I work with
Well,
rotating
But
schedule.
it-
I work a lot of overtime.
So, in all fairness, it depends on when the structure's completed, right?
Okay.
So it's within,
Tear down.
and to be clear on that condition, Ms. Morrow,
You need to be.
hi, hey guys, let's, so the condition regarding the removal will be within 6 months after completion of construction, within 1 year after completion of construction. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman? Is that what you're,
Yes, yes.
what you were intending?
When he
Okay.
can start moving things into that
Correct.
building. Okay,
So I'm rereading all.
I think we know what we said. We're not gonna put you through that misery again. All right, so the motion's been made. Someone want to second it?
I will second the motion.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Okay, Dave Lindros,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dave and Zara,
Yes.
Randy,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay. So, you're getting your garage, you won some with, we've taken it down to a proportionate thing that I'm comfortable with, given the lot size, and there's gonna be some things removed. Okay?
Mr.
All right.
Chairman, based on the fact that some work has to be done for survey, site plan, do you believe it's necessary to ask the applicant whether we want to journalize this case or not? I'm not sure that. he
You
would be-
understand what the journalizing means?
Not entirely. No.
Well, this really doesn't go into effect until the minutes are approved, and that would normally be at the next meeting. But do you think you'll get a survey done in the next 30 days where you
My intention is to try to get this moving as fast as.
all right, so let's go ahead and make them, by journalizing, it makes it effective right now. So if you can get your survey done and get the approval from the zoning inspector and building permit and everything, you can start within 30 days then. You don't have to wait for the minutes to be approved. So
I'll
we'll
make a motion, we journalize variance number 2024-0007-BZ.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded.
Okay, Ken,
Yes.
Dave Lindros,
Yes.
Randy,
Yes.
Dave and Zara,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay? So now I need a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, Dave Lindros,
Yes.
Dave and Zara,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Randy,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay, you people are free to go. Thank you for your diligence.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll open our regular meeting. Everyone's got a chance to look at the minutes, and Mr. Enzera told me there's a couple things need to be changed before the minutes are submitted.
Yeah, as much as I'd like to take credit for some things. Yeah, the first line, it was chairman, wasn't me, it was Tom. And then, on the very last page, Tom also made a motion to adjourn the meeting.
You thought I wasn't here, but I was here.
Habit.
This is
Okay,
low key burn.
yeah, any old business?
That's right.
You think we should keep these for the record?
I would.
Okay.
There was something that was used and relied upon.
Okay. Any old business? New business? Make a motion and we close the meeting.
I'll move
I'll
that we,
make motion, we close the meeting.
second.
Second, third, and fourth.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Those are difficult things, and I think we left both parties somewhat happy. And